Tonight on KGW News, mayors from around the metro stand in solidarity with Portland and against bringing in the National Guard.
We are not in crisis. We are not under siege.
And new at 11, a first look at the text messages between Governor Kotek and President Trump. Plus, the arrests from ICE protests and someone who apparently targeted a chopper over the weekend.
I really believe that we've got a handle on it.
Then thieves smashed their way into two local businesses. The car to keep an eye out for tonight. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Mulco. We begin with new developments in the president's plan to deploy the National Guard to Portland. And new tonight, we have a copy of a text message exchange between Governor Tina Kotek and the White House. On Saturday morning, the governor texting the president through his assistant saying, quote, "I just received your notice to mobilize the Oregon National Guard outside of my control. I believe this is unlawful and unwarranted. You broke your promise to speak with me before taking further action against Portland. I will be in touch later." To which the president then responded, quote, "I notified you to get things in order and you didn't. They attacked our ICE patriots last night and at other times. If you get your state in order, we don't come. But everyone knows that Portland has been an unmitigated disaster for years. I won't let that happen in America." The governor saying she went on to have a 10-minute phone conversation with the president, telling him his view of what was happening on the ground in Portland was not accurate. And here we are some 48 hours later with National Guard troops, some 200 mobilizing, set to be deployed to protect federal facilities pending a new legal challenge as soon as Thursday or Friday. So tonight we have live team coverage beginning with Alma McCarty at the ICE facility in South Portland, which seems to be the president's main focus. In Alma, we should be clear, we have seen some vandalism, violence, and yes, arrests there as recently as this weekend. What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, well, David, I can tell you right now that there's probably 3 to 4 dozen folks who are out here. There's a lot of back and forth yelling, but it hasn't gone any further than that. So I would say that things are relatively calm out here. I'm going to step out of the way so you can get a clearer picture of what we are seeing. The protesters do appear to be not crossing this line that is painted on the ground there that says U.S. property, U.S. federal property. I will say local and state leaders continue to argue that this situation down here is under control and does not require military force, and they're suing to stop it.
After an unknown number of federal agents descended on the city Friday,
as Americans, we do not believe that we should be using U.S. military forces on our streets in America.
Another planned deployment later this week, with President Trump calling up 200 Oregon National Guard troops, met with legal action from the state's attorney general.
This morning, we filed a temporary restraining order, which is a motion to get in front of a judge as absolutely soon as possible to talk about the real facts on the ground, not the social media gossip that the president has been spewing all over the internet.
That hearing's now set for Friday at 10 a.m. in federal court. Meantime, Governor Kotek told reporters her team is continuing to do what they can to communicate with the president.
We're going to do everything we can to change this outcome, to try to get some reasonableness out of the Trump administration so we don't have to see this in our communities. We do not need military intervention in the city of Portland or any city in our state.
The Oregon Military Department indicating the earliest Portlanders could see troops would be Thursday.
This situation is not insurrection, does not require military intervention. This is a local law enforcement issue, and it is being handled.
Comments echoed by Portland Police Chief Bob Day.
I'm confident that the resources of the Portland Police Bureau can manage incidents and actions that are occurring down there in South Waterfront.
As for criminal activity at the ICE facility, 2 people were arrested on assault charges Sunday night. Another man was arrested for allegedly shoving a federal officer on Saturday, and federal officers took 4 people into ICE custody after someone aimed a laser at a Customs and Border Protection helicopter that was seen circling over the South Waterfront area. Even so, the chief says these situations do not mirror the protests that many remember from 2020.
What's actually happening in the response that we're seeing both from Portlanders and from the Portland Police Bureau is not in line with that national narrative.
Now, we are told that the National Guard troops set to be deployed here They are specially trained to handle protest situations. However, it is unclear how they're going to protect this building, what their role in that is going to be, and how they're going to be working with federal agents. David, back to you.
Yeah, still a lot of questions, and of course that emergency court hearing on the Oregon lawsuit. That's Friday morning. Appreciate it, Alma. Stay safe out there. Okay, we want to give you some context on arrests at that ICE facility, with records showing most of those were in June during the first month of protests. Just over 24 people in all have been arrested, most on misdemeanor charges. Some of those cases have already gone to court. For example, 3 people who were charged with failure to obey a lawful order pleaded guilty and received 6 months probation and fines. In one case, prosecutors dropped charges. The other cases, as far as we can tell, are ongoing, with some people facing felony charges for assaulting a federal officer. Many of those are now set for jury trials. Let's bring in Catherine Cook now. Catherine, more than a dozen local mayors are now pushing back against the president's plan to deploy troops.
David, with that show of solidarity, that group of mayors sent a message. This is not just a Portland issue. They also stressed that the National Guard troops caught in the middle of all of this are our neighbors and friends.
The number of troops that we want or need is 0.
The number of Oregon mayors backing Portland Mayor Keith Wilson, 17. On Monday, they stood behind him literally and figuratively, denouncing the Trump administration's deployment of Oregon National Guard members to what the president referred to as war-ravaged Portland. Among them, Beaverton Mayor Lacey Beatty.
We stand here today to tell the president he's listening to the wrong people. The president cannot watch footage from over a half a decade ago and believe this is the Portland that we're standing in today.
In a joint statement, the mayors said they'd pursue all legal and legislative options to deny their jurisdiction's resources from supporting militarized federal actions. But to National Guard members themselves, the mayors, including Wilsonville's Sean O'Neill, offered only respect.
I want to be clear. My criticism is directed at President Trump's decision, not at the men and women of the Oregon National Guard.
When these volunteers answered the call to service, they made a solemn promise to their communities and to the nation that the federal administration is now dishonoring.
Mayor Joe Buck of Lake Oswego said it's worse than that.
Being used as props to feign safety is actually not safe for anyone.
Many living in the suburbs whose mayors spoke out appreciated what they did.
Personally, I'm grateful for that united front because it also reinforces what our governor has said about resisting the concept that Portland is war-ravaged and we need federal troops.
You can go up to Portland, there's no riots in the streets, there's none of that stuff going on around here. I don't know what he's talking about.
The justification for their presence in our cities is either a misunderstanding or a lie. I hope it is a misunderstanding that we can soon resolve.
When it comes to potential protests in the face of National Guard troops, the mayors urged people to be peaceful. They noted once again that Guard members are community members whose lives are also being impacted by the president's decision. David.
Yeah, good point and important context there. Catherine Cook in the newsroom. Thanks, Catherine. Meanwhile, faith and community leaders gathered at a Northeast Portland church tonight to show what they called peaceful resistance against the deployment. Those at the Interfaith Prayer Service at Augustana Lutheran Church say it's important to show Portland coming together. They also spoke out against the immigration crackdown across the country and the fear that some migrants are living in right now.
It's heartbreaking that people are in their homes and unable to come out. And so it's important to gather those of us who are able to let people know that we are one community and that we should seek together to find ways in which we can restore and build better connections with one another.
The pastor who organized that gathering says the violence is not coming from the protesters on the streets, but rather from ICE officers going after undocumented migrants. All right, let's give you a live look outside on this Monday, where many celebrated the return of cooler weather as well as the rain. Chief Meteorologist Matt Safino is here with a first look on what is on tap for tomorrow. Matt?
Yeah, that's right, David. We have more showers in the forecast, but some sun breaks as well. Fairly typical Portland early fall weather for you. Here's Vancouver right now, 60 degrees and cloudy, but the rain stopped really quite a while ago across most of the metro area. There's still some rain in far eastern Oregon and a couple of showers up along the Cascade foothills, but as we zoom in, The metro area up through Clark County and into southwest Washington, largely dry this evening. I didn't see a lot of stars when I was outside a bit ago, but it has dried out. Now look at the rainfall pattern here. Pretty interesting. Portland, Vancouver, Troutdale, all less than 1/10 of an inch. Then you jump over to Hillsborough. It's nearly 6/10 of an inch. There was a band of showers that came up through Yamhill County into Washington County and really hit Hillsborough and Scappoose pretty well. Some of the heaviest rain amounts in the valleys here. Over an inch, though, up at Astoria. They got a decent amount of rainfall for sure. So let's do a rain check on September rainfall in Portland, shall we? Average number of rainy days is 7. So far, we've had 5. The average number of consecutive rainy days is 2, and the most is 8. We won't reach that, but we'll probably get to 2 consecutive days with measurable rain. And if you talk about consecutive days with 1/4 of an inch of rain or more, well, we've never had more than 3 of those in a row in Portland in September, and hopefully we won't this time around. Had a great sunset up in the Cascades. More on that and the rest of the week in a bit, David.
Hey, beautiful view. We'll see you in a few. Get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now. A Gresham man will spend more than 30 years behind bars for kidnapping and raping 2 different women. Julio Cesar Escamilla Ramos was sentenced today. In one case, Escamilla Ramos offered a ride to a woman walking home from an event and drove her to a remote location and sexually assaulted her. In the second incident, he sexually assaulted a woman he had dated. In Estacada, 5 people have been displaced after a fire at an apartment building. The blaze broke out last Tuesday, and while no one was hurt, 2 dogs died in the fire. Today we talked with Zoe Goodenough, who had just moved into the building and says she lost everything, but her pets did survive.
Going from finally having my first apartment right after turning 21, being so proud of myself, and just like, I was so happy before I walked in that door, and then all of it's gone now. I don't have any independence. I don't have space. I don't have a place to go home. I don't have anything anymore.
Now, the cause of that fire remains under investigation. And Oregon lawmakers have finally passed a multi-billion-dollar transportation package. While the bill removes the threat of ODOT layoffs, it also includes a 6-cent gas tax increase, higher vehicle fees, and an increase in the public transit payroll tax. Though Democrats celebrated the end of the month-long special session, Republicans say they will push to refer the bill to a statewide vote.